What's up, y'all? Kofi Kingston here, and I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks, depending on what that drink is, preferably non-alcoholic, you know?
How's it going? The Celtic Warriors, James.
Soda.
I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Maple syrup.
I would never have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Welcome to the dive bar of the IWC. Welcome to Wrestling on the Rocks, episode 1. Again, I'm at Ref Marsh. We are at WOTR the show, and with me today to go over a new era, the other half of the legendary podcasting duo, the IIRonics. We got Kevlar on the rocks.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, man? Good to have you back.
Yeah, we're here. We're doing it again.
Yeah, might as well. Keep drinking, you know. I'm going to start with real simple stuff, and then we're going to get into it because I feel like there's so much to go over and to talk about and speculate about and make up, be journalists. That let's just talk about what we're drinking first before we dive in. What do you got in your glass?
All right. I got some Peach Crown. Just on the rocks. Yeah. What about you? What are you drinking?
I got a few drinks on my table here. I got water, I got coffee, and I got some bourbon with some iced tea in there just to stay hydrated. You know what I mean?
It sounds that way.
Yeah. You gotta stay hydrated. Let's see. Well, hold on.
No.
Okay. Interesting. Just a lot of stuff coming down right now in the middle of all of this as we're building up to SummerSlam, and we're going to get into that. But just as a breaking news thing, Seth Rollins and Riddle off the table. They're saying that Riddle got injured during the segment on Raw against Seth Rollins. The report on the news sites is that it's a kayfabe injury and not real. But that the idea is they said they're going to postpone it. I think they're trying to do it for the UK show. John Morrison appears to be injured and not showing up to his thing. But yeah, it looks like Riddle and Seth Rollins is out. A bummer. That match probably would have been really good, I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, you just got to be patient, I guess.
Yeah, we'll get there, I suppose. Right? Let's let it play out.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll do anything trying to get Seth or Riddle in well, and obviously not Riddle if they're saying he's hurt. I wonder if they're going to try and do something with Seth, just give him a match just for the sake of it. But I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of a notice. I don't know what kind of build-up you can have.
Cody's coming back, confirmed. He's fine.
Yeah.
Pec taped back together.
Little chewing gum and duct tape.
Yeah, chewing gum and duct tape. Grim Reaper's in the chat saying, "Hi, Grim. We are completely on a whole new system here. We're doing everything. We've upgraded all of our technologies and stuff. So if you're seeing glitches, A, have a drink, and B, let us know what's going on so that way we can try and repair it because we're live on a whole new system, whole new everything, pretty much. Let's see. All right, well, dude. You want to talk some news?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. In the chat, Taekwon, do you think that brief interaction with Roman on Raw is a hint for Seth at SummerSlam? I do not. Because the interaction was virtually nothing. Like, Roman's walking out, Seth is walking in, and Seth just says hi and walks by him. I thought it was more of an indication that Seth is not concerned about Roman right now and is not interested in what Roman's doing right now. He's dealing with what he's got to deal with, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they could build into that. Maybe if, that's what's next. But, yeah, as of now, yeah, it wasn't much of anything. Yeah. Maybe we need to watch the pre-show. Maybe something's going to go down there.
Yeah, that could be. Grimper says he can't wait for Mania 40 in Philly. That's true. That was announced. 2024 WrestleMania is going to be in Philadelphia. But, dude, there's a lot bigger things that happened this week. We haven't talked about it yet. Vince McMahon officially retired on Friday afternoon, right before SmackDown goes live and just a week away from SummerSlam. Kind of a crazy time to retire. Like, we've talked about it before. It feels like someone's got to be rushing him out the door for one reason or another. But you can imagine that if that was the plan, that they would have waited till right after SummerSlam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But hey.
Yeah, you would think that there would be like almost like a send-off to him at SummerSlam. Maybe, I don't know, leave his headset in the ring or something like that.
Just one final kiss my ass club.
Yeah. Kiss my ass as I walk out the door.
Yeah. But it's huge, dude. It's massive news. A lot of people thought that was going to tank the stock. It actually did not. Stock went up. Because I think that right now, on all the non-wrestling websites, all of the business ones, they're speculating that it's an indication that they're prepping to sell. Or that if they weren't prepping to sell, now they could be, right? Like, the idea being that Vince may have never sold, but now that Vince is retired, what's stopping them?
Yeah.
Do
we get Tony Khan at SummerSlam?
That'd be so good.
Kind of like when, the way Vince or Shane showed up on Nitro.
That'd be so good, dude. Yeah, and then obviously the talk online was a lot of people kind of giving the good riddance to Vince kind of concept. A lot of people shitting on other people for thanking Vince. And, like, it's really weird to me just because, to get it out there, like, I'm not educated on everything that's going on in those investigations. It sounds bad, and if true, is very bad. But bottom line is, I don't know. I'm not involved, and I'm not keeping up on all of that. I think that every allegation needs to be investigated, but I also think that every allegation needs to be investigated. We can't just determine something did or didn't happen off nothing. So that's just to say that it sounds bad, but at the end of the day, to circle back to the idea of him retiring, you can't completely negate that he's the reason all of us are here. right? And there's no single wrestling fan that's been like, well, I've only watched, except for, I mean, you got to be a certain age to be like, I've watched basically the NWA and never watched wrestling, continued to love wrestling, and avoided everything WWE forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just thinking about it, and I think those are the same people that, you know, believe the kayfabe Vince is evil and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
you know, finally we got him out and stuff like that. But yeah, Vince. If it wasn't for Vince, like, yeah,
There's a possibility. There's a feasible world that without Vince, the only wrestling that would be out there could be TNA. You know what I mean? And even then, like if the WWE lost the Monday Night Wars, Turner was dumping WCW either way. So if WWE went out of business, Turner would have dumped WCW, and then what would have been out there? You know what I mean? It wasn't until 2 years after, which, by the way, Jeff Jarrett did strictly because he thought there was no competition for WWE and thought there was a void from the people who left WCW. So it's still possible that theoretically, if WWE folded and WCW went away, that a guy like a Jeff Jarrett might have still tried to get a show on TV. But there's a possibility that 20 years ago we could have had no wrestling for 20 years. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's kind of
Well,
crazy.
then, you know, the other thing is, where would Tony Khan be in all of this?
Yes.
You
I
know,
guess
would he have
I
been?
guess you would have the Japan wrestling.
Yeah, but I mean, would he have been like such a big enough fan to want to invest and try and become, or you know, make his own wrestling company? Especially if, you know, like you said, if WWE failed and WCW failed, those are the two big guys. Like, if the two biggest guys on the block fail, why would anyone, you know, be putting that much money into wrestling ever again here in the States?
Well, outside of even Tony Khan's father, who's funded AEW, it might have been a much
Yeah.
more difficult conversation. Not that it wasn't difficult already, because
Mhm.
Tony's even said, and they've both said that he didn't like the idea of opening the wrestling company. He didn't want to do it, but just trusted his son to do it effectively.
Yeah.
If you said, hey, the two biggest ones went out of business 20 years ago and nothing's popped up since, like, except for Japan, yeah, that might be a real tough sell. You know?
Yeah.
Two billionaires went out of business? I don't know if we want to do that.
Yeah.
You know? So that's not to say that we owe Vince everything by any means, and it's not to say that you have to condone any of his actions, but it is to say that I think I understand people who say thank you, Vince, on the day of his retirement. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because one way or another, we watched a Vince McMahon product and liked it. And that's the reason why wrestling is what it is today.
Yep. How much of AEW would even exist without the Vince anyways? Because, right, if Vince went out of business back then, you wouldn't even have a CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I wonder how ROH would have fared, or TNA. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It could have been, it definitely would have been a different landscape altogether, but I do wonder how much of wrestling has survived because WWE was still around and not in spite of WWE being around.
Yeah. Well, and then plus, too, not just wrestling. Look at, like, people like Hogan and The Rock and, well, not so much Hogan, but The Rock and Cena that became huge movie stars.
Yeah.
You know, who would be Peacemaker right now?
Yeah. Batista was after that era.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Batista
mean?
wouldn't be there. Yeah. Like, and you got to think it's Brock Lesnar in the UFC if he doesn't get a WWE push. It's crazy to go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. It's weird. It's nuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and
yeah,
I will say,
go ahead.
personally, happy trails to Vince. You know.
Yeah. Enjoy that retirement.
Yeah. Good luck in the rest of, I guess, your life. Like,
well, I mean, as Vince has, or Bruce Pritchard on this podcast has always said that Vince loved that not, as he referred to it, the na 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 song. So we'll do a little na 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 na. Hey,
hey. Goodbye. I think that was the worst song we've put out there yet.
Oh yeah, we're doing good. We're killing it, man. We're killing it.
That was a cherry on top right there.
Yeah. But yeah, so Vince is retired. All that other stuff, we'll leave to the news media to figure out. Thank you, Vince, for fighting the fight as far as getting the show on and keeping it alive.
Yes.
As far as everything backstage, maybe not thank you on a lot of that, but still. But what that does bring us to is what happened after the fact, right? So we had Smackdown go off. There was the rumors that Brock Lesnar had left the building saying, if he's not here, neither am I, and he leaves. Then Brock showed up. The thing that's funny to me is that I'm not the only person who has said this, but I am going to say it because it's what I was saying in one of my chats, was for the amount of wrestling journalists who have all the details all the time and seems to know everything. Brock left. He said this. He's not there. WWE wants him back. They're trying to get him back. And then everyone going, oh, he probably asked for a ton of money. And the amount of people saying, well, they better go on TV and give him the same treatment they gave Naomi and Sasha. Like, go on there and say he let the fans down. And you're like, yep, I hear all of that. But then at the end of the day, he shows up and there wasn't a peep from anyone saying, we think he's back in the building.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just kind of makes you wonder the credibility of the original report. Did it or did it not happen? Or were you just being misled intentionally? And I know a lot of people saying like, hey, there's very little chance that in the midst of all of the Vince McMahon retirement stuff that they would try to put out incorrect information or, quote, work the internet. But you have a chunk of people who are looking to see what the product's going to look like without Vince. You have a chunk of people who are thinking, oh, Brock left. Why wouldn't you put that out there to just create as much buzz around this one episode as possible to get people to watch,
Yeah.
Will there be a WWE, will there be a Brock in a WWE without a Vince? Well, the answer is yes.
Yeah. Well, and, who knows where the journalists got their credible source from, but, some Joe on the street walking by the arena and they see Brock Lesnar leave. They're like, oh, he left. He sped off. This and that. He must be pissed. And all he wanted was like a cheeseburger and went to grab something to eat.
Yeah, who knows? But he was there. So I also thought it was funny that the amount of people who didn't, they had a lot to say about treat Brock the same as Sasha and Naomi. And I don't disagree with the sentiment. But I also still think it's funny that people think that Naomi and Sasha were the only ones ever treated that way, or that they wouldn't treat Brock that way necessarily. They didn't, but he also showed up. Also, they did the same thing they did to Sasha and Naomi to Steve Austin and the Ultimate Warrior at peaks of their careers. So, like, I don't think anyone's, like, untouchable. But at the end of the day, Brock showed up. And maybe if he didn't show up, maybe the next week they may have. Or maybe they would have sent out a tweet. I don't know. But the bottom line is he showed up.
Yeah, and that's the bottom line, is that he did show up. And, he can't have, those talks anymore, because he did. He showed up, he did his job, and we're here where we are now.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I kind of want to still speculate on stuff. So after that, we go to Monday, where Triple H has been announced as the head, or on Friday, I think he was announced as the head of talent relations. And there was one other part to that job, and I forget what it was, but the talent relations was the big one. And then on just before Monday, or on Monday, they announced that Triple H was going to be the head of creative. He was going to take over creative and be that top guy. So a lot of people were interested in watching Raw to see what it was going to look like. Oh, Bishop's coming through, said send me a link. You want to throw Bishop into chat?
No, that's fine.
Let's see. Here, let me works. It's not going to come from an email he recognizes, so we'll see how that goes. But so you have Triple H take over as creative. And this is where I really want to start talking about the speculation of the internet. Famously, obviously, NXT Black and Gold, Triple H's baby, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying right now, oh, Johnny Gargano's coming back. Cross could potentially come back, right? The guys who are his dudes. People, I even said to somebody, this could be great news for Ricochet. We could see Ricochet used in a different way, right?
Yeah.
The thing that I think is more interesting than this wild speculation that he's going to bring back all these people. What about the concept that Triple H booked Black and Gold different from the main roster because he just wanted it to be different from the main roster and not because it's what he believed would be best for the main roster? You know what I mean? I do believe there's a scenario where Triple H really likes Johnny Gargano, thinks that he was best for creating an alternative brand, but also doesn't think a guy like Johnny Gargano would appeal to the masses on a Smackdown or Raw.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well, and with NXT, you can push the envelope differently.
Mm-hmm.
Where, hey, let's try this. Let's see how this goes over. Okay, that had success or whatever. And, with the main roster, you don't want to do that. You want the A product all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it could go into a lot of different things. And I saw some speculation too where, now that Triple H is head of creative, Theory's going to be gone. Theory's going to be bumped down and stuff like that because that was Vince's guy and stuff like that. And it's like, relax, he's not going to just fire him. There's not going to be a huge change right away. I think if he does want to change something, it's going to be gradual. And, we'll see.
Well, I don't know about that. I think that there's a good chance that, and there's also like speculation out there that SummerSlam, that Triple H is going to want to make a big creative splash and be like, this isn't like really usher in the new era. And I do think that the idea of doing that is smart and good. Do something that says things are going to be different, right? I don't know that Vince McMahon was the only person in the entire company that believed Theory had a promising future. You know what I mean? Like, that's what that speculation sounds like. Oh, now that Vince is gone, Theory's done for.
Mm-hmm.
Do we honestly think that Vince was the only person who saw anything in Theory at all?
Yeah. No.
Because Theory was also pushed in NXT.
Yeah.
And he was taken under, and he was given specifically to Gargano to work with, who were all. If we want to speculate that we're in a world that Triple H wants to bring Johnny Gargano back into the company and put him in the main roster, we can't pretend that that same Triple H that loves Gargano enough to suddenly make him a world champion didn't love Austin Theory enough to put him with Gargano to learn from Gargano to also be pushed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Triple H obviously saw something in Theory if he put him with Gargano, and if we want to believe he loves Gargano, then we must believe that he loves everyone he put with Gargano.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You would think.
You would think. So we've talked a lot in general about being positive about the show or how much we like a lot of the stuff that's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I still think that right now I'm more excited for wrestling than I have been in a really long time. Not that I haven't enjoyed or been excited about wrestling, but I feel like there's so much uncertainty right now that that's very exciting.
Yeah, it makes it interesting. Like we're, especially, you and I being, fans since, whenever, we've only known as WWE as Vince and vice versa. So, like, we're entering uncharted waters right now, and, cool. Let's see where it takes us. Who knows? In a year, we could hate it and not be watching wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Or in a year, everything could be different, and we absolutely love it. Say, what was this garbage we watched before? But who knows?
Yeah. I think there's a ton of uncertainty. I do think that there's a number of free agents who haven't been signed by any of the company. I do think it's funny when people say there's super hot free agents out there right now that to me, if they were such hot free agents, they'd have been offered a ton of contracts by a ton of people, but it sounds like they're just not being offered stuff. Gargano comes to mind. Like, these people have shown up nowhere. I do think it would not be a surprise, and I think it'd be more excited and believable to see Karrion Kross come back.
Yeah.
I think that Triple H would utilize him much differently than he got utilized on the main roster last time.
Yeah. The NXT Cross would be awesome. With him and what was her name? Scarlett? Like, she never even showed up on the main roster.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I could see that as a realistic big splash, bringing back somebody like a Cross. Look at, especially at a stadium show. You know what I mean? Imagine that they do some sort of thing. I don't know where, and I don't think I would do it with Seth, but imagine they do some sort of thing similar to a Cody, where it's a surprise entrance, and the entrance happens to be Cross in the stadium, but the NXT version of that,
Yeah. Well, maybe. I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's how you get Seth. You bring Seth up there and like, hey, since Riddle bitched out and is not here and blah blah blah. Does anyone on the back want to fill this time slot with me? Let's have a match.
The only reason I say not Seth is because Seth has lost a lot lately.
Yeah. But Seth is a person that can afford one more loss. I don't think people are going to be like, oh my gosh, Seth Rollins is terrible.
Yeah, but I also don't think you want to push those limits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many losses can Seth take before people stop buying into it? I don't know if you want to push that line. I don't know if you want to hit it as many times as possible, or if you want to sacrifice him that many times. Because, like, sacrificing him for Cody makes sense. Sacrificing him for Karrion Kross on a second attempt? I don't know. I'm not saying it wouldn't work or wouldn't be cool, but I don't know if it needs to be Seth at that moment.
Yeah. Do you think you have an IC Open Challenge? And you don't even have to have, whoever returns win. It'll make Gunther look strong. And then you can continue Gunther and Shinsuke.
You know what else you could do? Gunther is such a force. Yeah, I was going to say that a U.S. against a Bobby, people would be pissed if Bobby took a loss to Cross, but if they made it a good, long battle, Bobby could suffer the loss and still look like a beast. More so than Gunther, just because Gunther's still so new.
Yeah.
I feel like.
But then why would you be taking Theory out of his match when technically he was only just going to do his match and then he was talking about cashing in?
Yeah, so you have Theory just say some shit like, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to, I'm so not concerned about this U.S. title that fuck it. I'm not even going to come out. And then you have Bobby going, well, now what? What am I supposed to do now? I'm out here, And then boom, Karrion's music hits. Joining the dive bar, though. Long time no drink. Yeah. Yeah. We got Bishop from the defunct Terrible Wrestling Takes. However, I maintain his takes are still terrible, regardless, show or otherwise.
Hey, it doesn't take my own microphone just to make them terrible. I just have my take. So, what's up, fellas? Kev, good to see you, buddy. Marsh, thanks for letting me jump in.
It's been a while.
It's the dive bar, man. People are allowed in.
Cheers.
Hell yeah! Cheers.
We have saloon doors,
Yeah, you said
Go ahead.
No, you said that you wanted to keep speculating, and I'm not a fantasy booker, but everything's just been so fucking crazy, and nobody really wants to talk about it beyond like the fantasy that Vince is gone. But I think the speculation is so much bigger than that, but also smaller.
Yeah, I think the theory that Triple H booked the original Black and Gold run, like how he sees the future of the business and how he thinks all wrestling should look, I think is a little silly. I think that it negates the concept that he may be smart enough to book a wrestling show that he also doesn't think would work on the main stage, knowing full well, I mean, the viewership never launched. It never really got to crazy numbers. It grew and then shrunk. Like, I think it would be silly to say that Triple H feels like if he just books Raw the same way he booked the NXT, that he thinks it's going to be a massive success. I think that would be silly.
So something I wanted to pose to all those who aren't in favor of the brand split. I kind of take what you're saying and fold it on top of itself. Like, so number one, the first thing I was thinking is if he didn't book it, he booked it based on the talent that was available, for one, right? And if you take Bischoff's stance, you're either better than or different than. And he booked it different than Raw and SmackDown. It wasn't about even competing with the own brands. It was, what is the talent we have and how do we book this talent the best we can? But if you're a fan of Black and Gold and you're a fan of Triple H as a booker himself or a head of creative himself, what if we now have 3 new Triple H shows booked with the talent that's available to him? A Raw independent show booked with the talent that's available, a SmackDown booked show with the talent that's available, NXT 2.0 with the talent that's available. They're going to be 3 separate shows presented 3 separate different ways. In my opinion, that's what I think people are kind of like, well, Vince is gone, everything's going to be fine now. It's so much bigger than that, but it also could be smaller. A lot may stay the same as far as like structure goes, but we could be looking at 3 independently booked shows.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember, and Kev will definitely remember this bit, when Shane was running SmackDown kayfabe and Stephanie was running Raw kayfabe, how different those 2 shows felt in every way?
Yeah.
The Land of Opportunity versus the flagship show. I could see something like that where it's similar but different. You know what I mean? Like, where right now Raw and SmackDown are largely presented the same way. There's no feel of SmackDown is different. It's the Land of Opportunity. Or here on SmackDown, like Kurt Angle would say, we settle things in the ring or whatever. Like, we do things different on SmackDown than happen on Raw. Like, the fact that they were presented differently could be something we see, versus right now they were presented almost identically, just with different colors.
Yeah, I agree. That's basically what I was saying, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they bring back like the GMs and stuff like that, because it's, you know, I haven't been a fan of just Adam Pearce just walking around doing whatever. And, you know, I've said it, you know, publicly several times, like, especially Survivor Series. Like, I hate where they keep talking about bragging rights between the brands, but they never brag about it. You know, before when it was Steph versus Shane, it was, hey, you know, we beat you type of thing. So I think if they structure it like that and keep the brand split, I think it'd be great.
Especially with them on separate networks. I mean, what's the only time it was bragged about was when the New Day was like, nah, man, we're the one. Like, we actually got a match. We actually got to win. They were the only ones that ever bragged. Not that I would want it to be like some Lombardi Trophy thing where they get to brag until Royal Rumble. But if there is a delineation, because that's to me what I was trying to get at was having that smaller roster on NXT being a palpable show that was so much different. Because I agree with Marsh on a lot of Black and Gold where, like, look, guys, it wasn't that great. Takeovers, pretty undeniable. But if you're taking a small roster and you're structuring it and you're having a show and you're having storylines and all that shit where they're staying away from the SmackDown guys, and then Survivor Series comes around and there's real bragging rights, you have to put something on the line, though, besides bragging rights, to your point, Kev, that they can come back and go, look, guys, we fucking won. You know, maybe that green belt that Braun Strowman won, they can bring back and that's the Survivor Series winner gets to carry that around.
Well, see, I think, and I've said it before, is I think the brand that wins Survivor Series is the brand that gets the 30th entrance into the Royal Rumble.
Or they get top pick in the draft or something, like some sort of
Something's gotta be on the
identifiable
line.
win.
Yeah.
Not just being like, we won, and then we'll forget about it till next year.
Yeah, because if they do like a shakeup before the beginning of the year, like each year's a new, season basically, instead of randomly doing it in June or July when they did it before. Like, hey, Survivor Series 1, Raw is the winner of Survivor Series, let's say. All right, they get the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea of the 30th in the Rumble. I think we've actually talked about this before, either on episode 1 or just independently. Let's say it's a clean sweep and there's 5 left on Raw. Then it's 30, 29, 28, 27, 26 are all those remaining members from the Survivor Series team. They get the last spots. And they just, draw names out of a hat to see who is from, 26 to 30. It just adds something to it,
See, I don't think it should just be because that would just be the men's Royal Rumble and the women's Royal Rumble would be the only two, or Survivor Series matches would be the only ones that matter. But I think as a, let's say as a whole, they win, Raw wins, they have the 30th women's and the 30th men's, then they could have whole storylines of, building up to it. Like, hey, who's going to earn that spot?
So then have infighting on the brand. So like if Raw wins, then there's a battle of Raw to see who gets that 30th spot. All right, that's better.
Yeah. You could have the entire roster, because that's what they always say too. Is that you have the entire rosters. Anyone could be called up at any time, or we need you at any time. The entire roster wins it. Then for the next 2 months, you have just Raw going ham on each other to see who gets that last spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of what I was saying too about the NXT Black and Gold, is it was meant to be different then. And I think that everything about NXT at that time was trying to get the audience that eventually AEW started catering very heavy to. It was an audience that I think Triple H and WWE knew that they didn't have. The amount of people who were not particularly pleased with the main roster on stuff, that there was an audience for that group. And that audience is exactly who AEW ended up building their entire business model off of, was getting that audience. Just so happened to happen right after NXT was doing it. So I think that NXT actually helped AEW in that way of seeing that there was an audience for that. The idea that people on the internet were saying the best matches or best, pay-per-view at the time would be TakeOver. Even during WrestleMania weekend, people would be like, oh, match of the night's on TakeOver over and over again, right? So it allowed AEW to even say, look, there's room there. There's a huge sect of fans that are preferring this other version, not even their main roster. They prefer this different than, which was essentially a high-end indie. They even had it poorly lit on purpose, like even if it was packed, they had it poorly lit. They wanted it to look like a big indie show. And then AEW said, we can run with that and go national and make it still look like a shitty indie show.
Yeah, I did find it odd when takeovers were in stadium shows that they would darken the crowds.
Yeah.
And the one that was really surprising to me recently was the 2.0 pay-per-view where Dolph won the title. They lit the crowd up and it just looked wrong.
Yeah. But, yeah. All that to say, Johnny Gargano's not coming back. They can keep him on the indies.
I think he does.
I don't see Gargano fitting in on the main roster in any way. I just don't.
Well, because it's to be determined, right? I mean, let's say NXT. I mean, look at the NXT champions, right? Beyond beyond McIntyre and Balor, who's going to hold a world title? Right? It's always been a massive IC title setup that NXT has had. So why wouldn't Gargano come back and fill in the mid card and actually put some growth on the mid card? Actually, my personal thought was that it would be Ciampa and Gargano DIYing on the main roster, which I think is the best fit for both of them.
I could see that being a lot more plausible than the idea of Gargano going on some super singles run. Because I don't even see Gargano going up against a Gunther believably in any sense.
Oh, that's true.
That's
true.
And who's your US title for mid-card? Bobby Lashley? You think Gargano's going to take down Bobby Lashley? Fuck off with that. Sorry, Kev. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't think he'll take him down, but he could lead up to an intriguing match. But, because we're talking about a big splash and a return at SummerSlam, do you think that Gargano comes back during the Miz Logan Paul segment?
Just all Cleveland everything. Drop Cleveland Browns in the middle of the ring, just shit all over it.
I mean, there'd be a lot of orange out there.
The only person with smaller balls than the Miz is Gargano, so it makes sense.
True. That's true.
But you have Ciampa in the Miz's corner. So to combat Ciampa, he comes out with Gargano. Or Logan Paul comes out with Gargano.
Babyface Gargano?
Yeah. I mean, just to get him out there.
It would play with the crowd.
You could even have Ciampa turn on Miz pretty easily and join Gargano's side, and then you have Miz and Ciampa in some singles matches, and you have DIY starting to bubble up.
It's the new double turn of the century. Because you would then turn Miz face and Logan Paul heel by having DIY beat the shit out of Miz, and DIY goes with Logan Paul. Logan Paul, babyface Logan Paul, by the way, now turns heel the way he's supposed to be. Miz is now babyface. It's perfect booking.
I think if you beat the shit out of Miz, he's still a bad guy. No one's going to build sympathy for the Miz.
That's true.
Yeah. They literally ripped his pants off and had him run around in his underwear, and no one started cheering him.
He has tiny balls.
He's got tiny balls. That's why they could get away with it.
They weren't cheering him. They were too busy laughing at him.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I'm super excited just for the future of it because I think that we're going to see differences. I think that, for one, I don't think Triple H has gotten as far as he's gotten because he doesn't buy into the things that Vince has been showing him and teaching him over the years. So I think we are going to see a number of things stay the same. I think at the same time, Triple H has a very independent, brilliant wrestling mind. So I think some things will be changing. I'm so excited about seeing what those things are. What does stay the same? What does change? And where's it all kind of land? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hopefully Triple H keeps Pops as Pops and brings back factions. That's what I want.
You talking about Funko Pops?
No. I'm saying quit ruining fucking surprises.
Oh. Yeah, those Pops are good Pops too.
Yeah. Like, I hate when they announce on Twitter or something like that, oh, so-and-so's going to be here. And it's like, well, just have them show up. Fuck.
That's a good point, especially with a guy like Triple H, who has been a jobber, a mid-carder, a top guy. He's gone away for a long time. He's had his massive returns. Like, he's done everything there is to do in the wrestling world. He understands that pretty deeply, so I could understand where he might absolutely be like, all right, let's keep this one to ourselves so that way we can get this big moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I don't know.
My biggest curiosity here is what's the IWC, the other side, gonna do when the rating slips and John Cena shows up? Like, they're not gonna blame Vince for bringing in Cena to pop the rating. Like, how does this all work now? Do we just trust that everything's gonna be fine and just watch? I mean, that's kind of what you're supposed to do anyway, right?
Right. Once I mean, like, to see what's going to be different and what's going to be the same is, I think, going to be the fascinating thing. I think the ratings are going to, not that we think that ratings matter super heavily, I do think that there's going to be a good viewership for the next probably month or two while people try to see how it shakes out. I think SummerSlam is going to be a huge thing. I think whatever does or doesn't happen on SummerSlam is going to be a huge impact for the next like 3-4 months just from viewership alone. You know what I mean? I think that's why it's probably important they do something crazy on SummerSlam. Do something that's identifiably not a Vince thing to do. You know?
Yeah. And then TV 14 comes back.
Yeah. Triple H got to go out there and get women to start flashing again.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I thought was funny. The amount of people being like, oh, we're going back to the Attitude Era now that Triple H is in charge. I was like, I think he still understands it's a big business.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of sponsors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the big business that his wife runs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When is the TV 14 supposed to start, or did it already start?
That's been like back and forth where it was like an error and then it was going to start, but then it's not going to start. I think it's a lot more blurry than people are trying to think. And I think people, especially wrestling media, want to jump on every little thing they see every time and say this is it forever. And not just acknowledge that, you know, there might be varying degrees of things, you know. So I don't know that like this TV 14 thing is something to actually be looking into deeply. Although, so SummerSlam had a TV 14 rating and then went to PG. I do feel like there's every possibility that this Roman and Brock match has blood in it. I think it's the time to do it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it before. Like, would this be a good spot for blood? And, you know, they were so against it for the longest time. And, you know, I think this is the spot. Like, you have a grueling match. Both of them come out beaten and worn out and bloody, and it just makes sense.
Yeah.
I think people overblow the ratings anyway. It's a rated program for ads and whatever, but what gets wrestling fans thinking that they're too cool for school when it comes to ratings is scripted programming. So it's like, oh well, it's PG, so we know that nothing's coming, or it's TV 14, so blood's coming. I'm not saying that that's not a good reason to switch. Like, absolutely prepare. You know, if any parent ever does it anyway, all right, kid, you might be prepared for blood now because it's TV 14. Like, I don't think that's the case, but they're warning their audience that something's supposed to happen. But when Randy got split open by Brock, did they switch TV 14 that day? They may have, you know, but I think more or less to your point, the story itself deserves broken limbs and fucking forklifts and Austin with the fucking crane dropping on a limo. Like, it's all that shit. Like, this needs to be a massive blow off. And if they bleed, they bleed. If they die, they die. Like, you know, go for it. If TV 14 is the way to prepare your audience that that's going to happen, I mean, it's almost like announcing John Cena's coming back on Twitter. Like, but it's also looking into copyrights, right? Like, what information can I find out beforehand on what's going to happen next? I've always the rhetoric around TV 14 has just been so dumb to me. They're on cable. They can say fuck if they want to. Yeah. There's no regulations. It's just all handshake agreements with networks on what you are and aren't going to do. So, you know, I think it's a little bit overblown, people caring about the TV 14.
I think so too, because we talked about it. I don't remember if it was on Thursday or Wednesday last week. It was definitely on episode 1 either way. That the idea of TV 14, people being excited for it, saying, oh, now it's about to get good. Like, the use of the word shit or bitch makes something good or bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, if you don't like the stories now, you're not going to like it with them saying shit for no reason. Like,
well, I mean, South Park's a completely different episode when they blur it out.
It's a different episode, but it's the same content. The story's the same.
Yeah.
But I will say entertainment value could be a little bit different. Like the Osbournes, watching it uncensored versus censored, the Osbournes was much funnier censored because the amount you couldn't hear. So it was hysterical, the amount that was not aired. But then when you watched it uncensored, it was just people cursing at each other. And you went, all right, well, I guess that's what they said.
To Kev's point, though, I've seen the South Park movie probably a dozen times. I've seen way less than a dozen episodes of South Park. The movie's fucking hysterical. The show I just could never watch. It just never made sense to me. But the movie's awesome.
Yeah, it's complicated storylines. It's tough to grasp. It's probably over your head, like people say about AEW. When you go, this is a dumb storyline. It's over your head. No, it's dumb. Power of friendship. You. The amount of times I've seen people defend AEW storylines that I said was childish and dumb by saying it's the power of friendship. I'm like, that's my point.
Yeah.
What's the power of friendship?
Every storyline in AEW boils down to the power of friendship. Especially when you say this is a dumb storyline, it's childish, and people go, no, it's about how strong friendship is and how the power of friendship can elevate someone to a whole new, and you're like, yeah, that's my point. Is children think the power of friendship is the magic of love. Like, fucking relax with that.
Yeah, that sounds like some Disney afternoon programming.
Yeah.
What the fuck does that even mean?
Power of friendship? Well, dude, you don't have friends. It's easy to understand this.
That's, you know what? It's a fair point. I don't get it. To their point, I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Like, what do you mean they're aligned because they're friends? What does that even mean? Yeah. But yeah, I'm stoked, dude. I'm excited for the idea of what's to come, whatever that looks like. You know? I've enjoyed it thus far. So that means this shift will be different. So one of the things that people said that they saw was different, specifically on Monday Night Raw, and we could definitely go back and talk about Smackdown as much as you guys want, but on Raw, a lot of people were saying that it looked to them like the talent was having more fun, that the talent looked a little looser out there than before, which may or may not be the case. But I do think that there's probably a very real sense from the talent of, with Vince gone, there's something new to prove, right? And I do think that the idea not being that now that Vince is gone, they can finally breathe and they're finally they've hated their jobs forever and their lives because Vince was there. I think that there's a reality to, now that Vince is gone, we got something to prove. We got a whole new thing to prove. We need to show the world that even with Vince gone, we're top tier. That Vince didn't make the show, didn't make us. We have this to prove. And I think that in itself could be a breath of fresh air for all those talent to go out there with the guidance of Triple H one way or the other and prove themselves all over again. It probably feels fresh to them, you know?
Mm-hmm. There might be like a, excuse me, like an actor or whatever trying out for a new movie. Like, you know, they have to prove their worth, so they're gonna go out there and give it their best, and yeah, just prove that they deserve to be there.
I didn't quite see maybe a massive leap. You know, again, I've been watching on and off, but these last two, SmackDown and Raw, I definitely watched both. Except for I didn't watch the end of Raw last night or whatever that was. What's today? Wednesday?
I don't know.
Yeah. So Monday I didn't watch the end of Raw. I was tired. But what I saw was maybe, if anything, and it's specifically just Monday, the fear of fucking up may have gone, where it's not a one-shot audition every single time. Yep. Maybe that's where they look looser, where if I fuck up this storyline, I'm not going to be on TV next week. I may have felt that a bit, but again, all in all, the way that they just told the Judgment Day thing, like throughout, that's who Ray has always been. That's who Priest's always been. That's how good Ray has always been. So I don't understand why, you know, that took up probably 25 minutes of TV time. How much looser could they have been with or without Vince? I don't, you know.
I felt like there was a couple through stories that we don't typically get. I felt like that the Roman and Austin Theory thing was kind of following up on itself throughout. I felt like the Judgment Day and Rey Mysterio thing were kind of like two stories that were colliding over and over again. I don't think we had a ton of Usos and Street Profits, but I feel like there was a little bit of that going through. I feel like we had more things that felt less like isolated segments and more like through stories throughout than we have been recently. Like, there's usually one story that they follow back on, and then everything else feels pretty isolated. This felt like there was a few things carrying through, and very little seemed truly isolated, which I appreciated a lot of. And who knows? Maybe that was just the case of it. Maybe that's how it was written a week ago. Who knows? It could also be that, theoretically, if you want to believe what dirt sheets say, that the consistent rewrites and last-second rights and stuff, where even people who have left the company have said that, like, yeah, sometimes you're there and they rip it up right in front of you and you're starting over. It could be that might be why segments could have been so isolated, is that they kept having to rewrite that one segment. There wasn't time to incorporate it throughout. You know what I mean? Or a way to incorporate it throughout, where now maybe they're really focused on Triple H may be really focused on a larger vision, longer term, and saying, like you said, the fear of fucking up. And if we fuck that one up, oh well. You know what I mean? I don't know. Could be cool. Could be cool.
Yeah.
The amount of reported talents, you said that if Triple H had his current position now than when the contract was up, that they would have definitely re-signed, is interesting. Tony Khan's been going on Busted Open to make sure that he told everyone how long a lot of the contracts are. Dude, Adam Cole got a 6-year contract.
Yes. Won't be in WWE a long time.
I missed the beginning of the show. Are you guys drinking? I mean, it's...
I got a little bourbon.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna grab a beer real quick.
All right.
Have
Cool.
a drink with you.
Hold on, I'm trying to... What's going on here? Sorry, I got a message here, and now I'm afraid I forgot what I was saying. Oh, the 6-year contract.
Yeah.
So what I think is interesting about that, and then apparently Malachi Black's in for like 4 or 5 years, but the idea of a 6-year contract for Adam Cole, do you think that possibly why Adam Cole seems to have fucking started checking in? Like, why it looks like he's calling it in now? Like, and maybe this is a conversation for tomorrow, but if I had a 6-year contract, yeah, I might relax the first couple of years for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they say athletes do that all the time, where, you know, the term he's on a contract year, you know, he's on the last year of his contract, like he's got something out there to prove. So, you know, they try and, you know, play better and stuff like that to get a bigger contract. And, you know, after securing that, you know, said contract, you know, some people do, you know, tail off a bit.
Yeah.
All right, I got it secure, like, you know, I'm good now. Whereas, you know, when they're hungry for it, they needed to make their livelihood.
Yeah.
So they push harder and try harder.
And Tony's got a reputation for following through the entire contract. Where with WWE, they have a reputation for if they don't like you, they cut you, and then you just run out your 90 days, right? So with Adam Cole signing 6 years, he could easily be like, well, I'm good for 6 years. Like, I don't have anything to worry about.
Tony Khan's only been around for 3 years now, so
yeah.
I don't know how many contracts he's used to running through.
All the original contracts are 3 years, so all of them he's ran through at this point.
Okay.
Which is why there's so many people who were not re-signed. he ran through the contract, didn't use them, and then just didn't re-sign them, and reportedly just ghosted them all. A ton of people were like, well, I guess I'm not getting re-signed because Tony stopped responding to my texts and calls. Because that's how a professional would handle things.
Yeah. That's how kayfabe would handle things.
Yeah. But not to go on an Adam Cole tangent, we can do that tomorrow. But the idea that there's a bunch of talent out there who are deemed as major free agents, and the amount who have said that they would have re-signed, does make you wonder how many people, when their contracts are up, might go back over there, or at least start conversations again with Triple H. When I think about, especially with Triple H not only being head of creative, but head of talent relations, that's brilliant. That couldn't be smarter.
Yeah.
How many times we've talked about, like, the left hand not knowing what the right hand is shitting on? You know what I mean? Like, if the person who's heading creative is also in charge of getting talent in and out, that's big vision, brilliant, you know?
Yeah. You would think he'd do the same job from the beginning.
Yes.
I tweeted off of a question on Twitter. I think it was yesterday. You know, the 5 to come back or who wouldn't have left and all that shit. The first thing that popped in my head was Kairi Sane. What Triple H did with her in NXT was fucking amazing, and floundered in main roster based on the work that happened in ring. If Triple H was head of talent relations and creative, then is Kairi Sane a little bit more protected? And let's say if she's mishandled in the ring, again, more protected going forward and would want to say. So I'd love to see her back.
Well, that's just interesting for me because I felt the exact opposite. I felt like everything she did in NXT was a huge flop to me, and I thought that everything she was doing on the main roster was actually interesting and very cool.
Wow.
I didn't like anything she did in NXT. I hated the pirate gimmick hard, dude. It looked like a child in there playing around.
I'm right. You're wrong. Says it in the ground.
But I would say that a guy like Karrion Kross is a good example of a huge disconnect. I'd feel like that, even though, like, let's even say that the idea of the disconnect between NXT and main roster, could that really be talent relations versus creative? Where is talent relations saying we want that one from NXT, and then creative saying we don't know what to do with that style character? Where now if you have talent relations saying we're ready for that guy in NXT and this is how I want to use them in creative, whatever disconnect there isn't that anymore. It could easily be like, I'm not a fan of that presentation, but I see that person's talent and want to repackage them because I have an idea for how I'm going to repackage them, versus the idea of talent relations saying, I've brought you this person, and then creative going, what's that? You know what I mean? Like, at least it's the same thing. So the disconnect will be harder to blame. You know what I mean? It'll be a lot more difficult to say, like, there's a massive disconnect between creative and talent.
No, I hear. Did you you ever hear the Triple H interview where he talked about Vince, sniping the women's division, and he was like, "Just leave me Asuka. Take whoever you want, just leave me Asuka. I can build another division around Asuka."
Yeah.
So to your point, I think that's where that won't happen again, because they will build some fluidity. Which it seemed like they were getting there with 2.0, like you said, establish a character here, flow them into the main roster appropriately. I'm surprised.
Happen.
Yeah, well, yet.
No, they brought over Max Dupree, right? Remember we said, NXT 2.0 is going to be great.
He's still black and gold.
He had a fucking title shot in 2.0, and he became babyface
what you're saying.
2.0.
So did Ciampa. Ciampa held the title in 2.0. But the revamp is the new cast of characters, the opposite side of that War Games match. Everyone who was on the other War Games match, Pete Dunne, all those guys. Nope, they're all black and gold. Even LA Knight. Sorry.
I think
even when Cameron Grimes comes up, it's going to be different too. He's not going to be Cameron Grimes. It'll be something. Maybe now. Yeah, maybe now. Yeah. But
do you think with the Max Dupree thing, because now the other rumor, and as long as we're talking rumors anyways, do you think that the Maxine Dupree was put in to replace Max Dupree and he's no longer going to be with Maximum Male Models? Or do you think it's just another addition?
A well-needed addition.
See, I think it could go either way.
Me too.
I'm in the middle on that. Because I think with Maxine, like, it brings back the traditional, like, ballet with her, tag team or whatever. And I think Max Dupree would be just way too talented just to be a, manager.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, I don't know what you do with him if you drop him. Or not drop him, but like change his gimmick all at once, or even just put him back in, NXT, go back to LA Knight.
Or you just throw him on Raw and make him LA Knight. You know what I mean? Just get him away from SmackDown, you know?
Yeah.
Or do you just
Do you
bring him out as
think
LA Knight? We've done the Elias Ezekiel thing. Why don't we just fucking go with LA Knight?
I was gonna say, do you think he shaved his beard before becoming Max Dupree so he can always grow the beard back and go back to LA Knight?
I mean,
I thought, well,
I didn't mean to break the
shoes
internet there.
Yeah, it could be a beard thing.
I mean, yeah, like I said, I think with that, both of them make sense. You could go either way, and yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think that to me, the Max Dupree, LA Knight, Eli Drake saga is going to be one of the more interesting tidbits of what is Triple H going to do now that he's in charge. Does he continue with that Maximum Male Model thing, which was getting a ton of heat because people hated it, but
That was the point.
It was the point, but at the same time, I feel like it was going to, I mean, who knows where it's going now. I felt like it was going to go down in history the same way as the Spirit Squad. One of just the shittiest gimmicks you straddled someone with, and you had a ton of big, like, good talent and good potential that may or may not have survived it long term, you know? I wonder if Triple H is going to be like, yep, that's a pretty shitty gimmick. Let's redo this one more time, but this time a little different. Or if he's going to tweak it, does he pull Max out? Like, I think what happens with the Maximum Male Models, to me, is going to be a lot more interesting about the tell of what we're doing with the Triple H era. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
What's the benefit of letting it grow in the Triple H era?
I don't know. That's Triple H's vision. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever happens with it, I think is going to be pretty telling because we know that Vince will double down on a Spirit Squad. He'll double down on something that's really just like Bruce has talked about it on his podcast. Sometimes stuff will go out there and just flop so hard that Vince is laughing hysterically in the back. They hate it. This is great. And he might do it again just to watch the crowd be upset again. Is Triple H going to be the same way?
With the models here, if Massey and Mansois are hated so much for the gimmick, but you don't want to see them get their ass kicked, then it's not necessarily the point. Because the point is about the in ring, right? You want to hate them so much, you want to see them get their ass kicked. And if that quote go away heat fucking bullshit speak that everyone does, if that's what this is, my point of saying what's the benefit in the Triple H era, or does it have a ceiling out of the ring in the Triple H era? Because we haven't quite seen that in NXT with the flaunting of talent without the in-ring.
Exactly, and that's why I wonder. That's what I'm saying. We watch this, right? Because at this point, you got to put them in the ring. Maybe you have them do some shifty stuff, like, "Hey, we're gonna have this match, but the rule is you can't punch us in the face because it's our moneymaker."
That'd be amazing.
What I mean? And then you see someone get disqualified because they punch Massey in the face, and then that's it. You guys lost. You're not allowed to. You can't do this, right? And then you build this animosity of the crowd just wanting to see them get their asses
punched in the face.
And punched in the face. Like, potentially you can build heat from people wanting to see them punched in the fucking face. But I don't know. To me, the Maximum Male Models has been one of the more interesting storylines out of just sheer observance. Not even like storyline wise, but just going like, what are they doing with this and how is this supposed to work? And I think that Triple H taking over right now, to me, that's the storyline to watch to get a massive indication of what kind of booker is he going to be. What does he do with this story, you know? Because it has been going nowhere this whole time. And right now they're slated to do a bathing suit thing. So I think that at this point you have them get attacked or interrupted or something, right? But we'll see. I think that it's interesting, and I think that whatever was going on with the Max Dupree and if you believe the dirt sheets, the rubbing people the wrong way in the back, I think all of that's going to be a shift in concept now with Triple H and the new regime, right? Was he hard on creative because that he really didn't like or believe in the story? And is it going to be easier with creative if it's got a new direction? You know what I mean? Like, is standing up for yourself, quote, rubbing someone the wrong way? Maybe depending on how creative wants to address it or approach it. Hey, you're doing this tonight. Is there a way we can do something else? Why are you so difficult? You know what I mean? Like, that's a real thing that happens in corporate, you know?
Who could it be rubbing the wrong way though? Especially before Vince left. It's one person, right? It all goes through one person. Who the fuck is it rub the wrong way? It's
But
just,
it didn't.
I hate that.
It didn't go through one person. It stopped at one
Well, the
person.
Vince-
And there's a difference.
Well, okay, gotcha.
So if you had writers
Filtered through.
and yep, it's filtered 3 or 4 times. You have a writer who's working with you,
Right.
you have a producer who's working with you, you have talent relations who's working with you. You might, according to what we've heard, talk to 3 or 4 people about one storyline before it even gets to Vince. So if all those 4 people are saying he's really difficult to work with because maybe he keeps saying, I don't know where this is going and I don't feel comfortable with that, and it's a shut up and do as you're told mentality from some of those people, then by the time it gets to Vince, it doesn't matter because, hey, he's not easy to work with. What do you say we just move along? You know? But it could be different now. Who knows? I'm just saying it's all going to be very interesting moving forward, especially with the amount of tell-all weird podcasts that you get after the fact. I wonder what's going to be like now. The idea of people going back and forth seems more possible. It just does.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was a thing necessarily that happened because Triple H isn't doing creative, but something I did notice this week on Raw was Alexa Bliss suddenly had purpose. Right? She cut that promo in the back and she said, this is exactly what I'm about. This is what I don't like. This is what I don't understand. This is what I'm trying to do. This is who I am, which is the first time we've seen that from her since she's come back.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
She sang her theme song when she came out.
She's been kind of lip syncing it the last couple of weeks, but
Has
I think
she?
it was more
Okay.
prominent this week for sure.
Okay.
I think she just really likes that song. She was even on Twitter for a while, like just tweeting out lyrics from the song for like a week straight.
Mm.
So she's really into it. And maybe part of that singing it more boisterously and more of obviously maybe had to do with, like you said, the freedom to fail, the maybe that loosening up of, we got something to prove. This is who I am. And maybe she felt better about her character having a direction. You know what I mean? Maybe she cut that promo. Boom, now I've got direction. Maybe she went out there like, fuck yeah, here I am. I'm doing something now. Where before, it felt almost... She seemed almost blasé, but almost by character design alone of like, I don't know why I'm back. You know?
Yeah, I mean, Kev can relate to this. I mean, how many times have you seen a sports team change a manager and then they get an instant boost? It's quite possible that Triple H pulled in his star players and was like, look, this is what I see for you. This is where we're going to go. This is what I see for you. This is where we're going to go. This is what I expect out of you. It's very possible that, there's just a new head coach and the team on the basketball court is going to go nuts.
Yeah. Happens all the time. And, you bring the talent in and tell them exactly what you just said. And, they get the boost and confidence and swagger back, and they go out there and perform the way they're supposed to.
Yeah. And I don't think that it's necessarily an indictment on Vince or saying that Triple H is the solution for all things ever. But I do think that there's something different and something to be said with, we're reproving ourselves. And like you guys said, maybe just the fresh air of new. There's a newness to WWE right now. It feels like a start over for the first time in, was it 82? So almost 40 years, 30 plus years. You got a new head coach, like you said. Something's going to be different. And the amount of times that people said, oh, it's Vince. Oh, it's a one-man show. That's all off the table now. And no one knows what it is. And fuck it. Let's go see what we got. Do we have long-term contracts? We got time to fail? Yeah, we do. Okay. Let's go mess up some shit, I'm stoked, dude. To your point earlier, they did not make Raw TV 14 this week, but Montez bled pretty bad. And I thought it was funny, the amount of people who said, well, there's blood? There's blood now? We're bringing blood back? I rewatched that spot. He hit the turnbuckle nose first and broke his nose.
Yeah.
And he bled real bad. And during the first commercial break, they wiped it all off with the towel. When they came back, it was gone. I was like, they're not leaning into the blood. It was just another fucking accident. Do you guys think, because I wonder, is it going to prevent the Usos from Street Profits having a match if he's got a broken nose?
No.
Or do you think
No.
Montez comes out in a weird face shield? Or do you think neither?
I think neither. I think he just, it's just going to be what it is. And, they might play into it a little bit, because the commentators even said, like, hey, when your nose is broken, it messes with your, oxygen intake and the way you breathe and stuff. And, they might lean into that. But outside of that, I don't think anything is going to be too drastic.
Yeah. All right.
The only thing they should lean into is that when he goes to do the frog splash, on the way down, he starts bleeding. So the higher elevation caused the nosebleed.
That makes sense.
Other than that, no, he's a gamer. He's a former football player, a military veteran. He's not going to back down from a broken nose. So yeah, he'll be there. I would like to see the face shield. I mean, why not steer into the skid a little bit? Give yourself some character besides just being the yelling, screaming small guy instead of the yelling, screaming big guy.
Yeah. And plus, he's a basketball player. What was the basketball like? He wears the basketball jerseys. Wasn't there a basketball player who used to wear a face shield?
Yeah,
Hamilton, Rip. Yeah, Rip Hamilton used to. I think he broke his nose.
Yeah.
He ended up wearing a face shield, and then after he healed, he thought it brought him good luck, so he pretty much kept it. I think the rest of his career.
So good. I love good luck in sports. So good.
Yeah, because your favorite sport doesn't require luck.
Hell yeah, dude. Was there anything on SmackDown specifically you guys wanted to shout out or talk about?
Not off the top of my head. that I can
Just the
think of.
Roman promo. I
Was it
mean,
SmackDown or Raw?
oh, that was Raw, huh?
Yeah.
Because Lesnar was SmackDown. I love the fucking the dirt sheet. Well, you guys touched on Lesnar earlier on, didn't you? How he came, he was there. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was there.
I just
Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey. What do you guys think about that promo? I do want to know what you guys thought about that.
To me, it was a little underwhelming, disappointing. It feels weird, but ever since she's become the champ, it almost feels like she's not the same. I don't know what it is.
yeah, her story's gone. It's a thing that a lot of musicians have, is that first album is awesome because it's their hunger. Then the second album just not good because the story's gone. The story that the appetite they had for creating what was there. And I think that's what's happening with Liv, is watching her fight for the last 2 years to turn into this has been fucking awesome. Something we all wanted. But now that she's here, her story's gone. She can't lean on being the underdog anymore. So they're playing off of I grew up wanting this and she wanted to be an MMA fighter. And it's such a tired storyline when it comes to Ronda that it's also too soon for Ronda in a hierarchy standpoint of having wrestling matches. The threat's too big for Liv. So if we saw Liv have like 5 other matches as the champion, she can just go off the strength of being a fighting champion. But that's not the strength in her story. She doesn't have one. Just that she's a better pro wrestler and wanted it longer, so she's been pro wrestling longer. And it's a tough one to get over.
So I think that the story they're probably aiming for is the hunger of Liv didn't stop at getting the championship. It's now she needs to keep it. It's kind of like Tinkerbell and her applause. Like, I need this. You don't need this. You are still someone without this, and I'm nobody without this. All I've ever been is trying to get to this, and without it, I lose a lot of my identity, where you don't lose any of your identity, whether you're champion or not. And I think that's what they're trying to get to, but it's a little clunky, or maybe I'm filling in some blanks there, but I do feel that the underdog story of Liv in getting to the championship is highlighted by winning it in an underdog style way of cashing in on an injured person and barely skating by with the skin of your teeth. Now that she's got a taste of it, she doesn't want to let it go. And why might that be? You know what I mean? Like, she's got to prove that she's not an underdog, which is this one is. And it's interesting for a champion to go in as an underdog into a championship match, you know? But I guess that's true also in UFC, or was it before Amanda Nunes? Wasn't it that not a single UFC women's champion was able to retain? That they lost it at first defense every time for the multiple years before that, outside of Ronda? Like since Ronda, in between Ronda and Nunes, it was only defense they lost it.
It was only two. It was Holly lost to Misha, and then Misha lost to Amanda.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Which I thought was an interesting. I know they didn't really like dig into that, but I thought it was an interesting thing for Ronda to bring up. It's a lot easier to win it than it is to defend it. To me, felt like a callback to UFC and how often the champions don't retain on first defense. You know, that they get it and then they lose it right after.
Well, I still think it was hilarious that she said that, because it's like seeing everything that Liv has done and how bad she struggled with it to finally get it.
I know.
Say, hey, that was
right.
the easy part.
You almost expect Liv to go, wait, what? It's harder now? Oh.
Yeah, it's harder. Fuck that. Here, I don't want it.
How great would that be? She loses in fucking 8 seconds to Ronda and then cuts a promo after the match. No, Ronda said this shit's harder, man. Those last 2 years were fucking hell. I'm not going through this. Worse. I don't need to be champion. Fuck that. I'll win the Rumble. I'll lay down at Mania, but fuck, man, I just want to win the Rumble now.
Yeah.
I'm liking it, though. I do like Liv as a champion. I want her to stay champ, if I'm being honest. I think that there's something to be had there, and it might be a little bit of a struggle for a little bit, but I think there's something there.
If that's the case, then how do you get out of SummerSlam?
Well, you have...
She wins.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, you have Liv win to solidify her as a legitimate champion, especially since she's going in as the underdog. And then you have her, you know, hey, I beat the baddest, and that means I'm the baddest now.
You have her Bret Hart that shit and just keep taking at the knee.
Yeah.
Keep working the knee that was injured in the other one, where she's like, look, I'm all healed up now. Well, I hope you're real healed up, because I'm going to be attacking the shit out of that knee. You know? And then have her win with some fucking knee bar. Fucking sharpshooter. SummerSlam. That's the fucking pay-per-view for the Hearts.
Sure.
Yeah.
I got a question about the beginning of SmackDown, though. A lot of people were really upset, and we kind of touched on it earlier, that Stephanie McMahon started a chant for "Thank you, Vince." Were you guys upset by that? Because I felt like it'd have been weird if she didn't try to pretend like she was grateful for her father.
Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, I think these are the same people that believe the kayfabe of Vince is truly an evil. And, you know, I do think they need to send off a proper almost goodbye. Because if this is the last time we see Vince ever, like, it kind of sucks. Because I feel like, you know, there needs to be the obviously won't have a match, but there needs to be a send-off, thank you for everything type of thing. But, I mean, people just...
WrestleMania that, though?
What's that?
Was WrestleMania that, though? I feel like the way that WrestleMania wrapped up was really a big send-off for Vince then.
Yeah.
You know, like...
I mean, I think WrestleMania was, in what you're saying, I think it was Vince's realization that we got Austin to do something, so this is the final bow on what Vince and Austin could do. So what could Vince do after that? You know, it basically erases everything else from the last 20 years that Vince did, because he was able to tie a bow on top of the Austin feud.
Yeah.
So I can see what you're saying there. Stephanie also didn't start a thank you Vince chant. She restarted it. She told the crowd to stop saying thank you Vince and then restarted it after she gave her speech. So anyone who wants to bitch and complain, they can take it up with the crowd first and then, see who they want to blame after that. It's this fucking selective criticism from the beginning of time. People choose to bitch what they want to about, but be honest. Be honest. I mean, the honesty there is that the crowd already wanted to say it. They were saying it. And she asked them to stop so she could make the speech and then restart it. And honestly, it was disingenuous when it restarted anyway. It didn't have the same oomph as the organic thank you Vince. So fuck it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like we said before, to try to pretend that Vince didn't create this. I saw a lot of people trying to take a problem with the idea of her saying that this is the company that Vince Kennedy McMahon started and ran. And everyone's all like, he bought it from his father. Kind of, but not really. Like, it was a much different company when his father ran it, and his father sold him the Capital Wrestling Company, and he immediately turned it into the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, and then took it from there. Like, it really, by every account, it was a different business. He literally opened up a new business, and all he did was kind of like he acquired WCW. He just acquired what was there, right? Like,
if I bought your podcast and put it on ESPN with me as the host and turned it into a global talk show, I may have taken the framework that you built, but I turned it into what it is. Like, that's what Vince did. He took the essence, yes, the Northeast territory of wrestling, and turned it into a global phenomenon in which it's so big, so good, people begged for more from someone else because it wasn't what they wanted out of it. It's such a desirable entity to be done right for everyone. Vince did that.
Yeah. And probably you would also have changed the name. You would have taken the Wrestling on the Rock show, acquired it, and then made it Terrible Wrestling Takes on ESPN. Then you'd say, this is the company I started. And people are like, nuh-uh, Wrestling on the Rocks did it. And you're like, well,
right.
I don't know. So yeah,
well, I'll take mine on the rocks. Yeah. Keep some of the old, some of the new, push it together.
Oh, that makes sense. Terrible on the Rocks. Well, let's see.
The thing I still find hilarious with the timing of Vince retiring and stuff like that is I never thought I would see that Vince McMahon retires before Ric Flair.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Vince McMahon
to be fair,
before Flair.
To be fair, Flair has retired like 7 times. Not as many as Terry Funk, but I'm pretty sure that Vince is going to retire less times than Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, Vince is probably not retiring a dozen times. Grim Reaper's in the chat. He says, wait, that isn't what Bishop is doing here now. So he's trying to make sure that you're not here to take over. It's hard to say. He's kind of the outsiders. He did walk in a little Scott Hall-like. Like the toothpick right at us. It's hard to say.
Hey, yo.
Yeah. Let's see. Raw did have the... I liked the opening of Raw. I felt like there was something immediately different with them cutting to Miz and Logan Paul beating the snot out of each other in the ring. Like, they couldn't wait till later, this and that. Fun way to start it and kind of go, what the fuck? And then you have Roman come out. Paul Heyman shit on New Jersey.
Yeah.
The only thing that could have made it better is if he said that the sound guy was from Delaware. That's the only thing that would have been better.
Yeah, people from Delaware are atrocious.
Yeah.
People in Delaware, not so bad.
Well, it's like a terrible geography take.
Very good biological take, though.
Yeah.
It's a decent birth certificate take.
But you said something. You wanted to say something about the opening promo?
It was fucking amazing. And again, it shits on the notion of dirt sheets in the IWC that, Roman is Vince's guy and push this and all that stuff. I mean, I get it. There's always a slant. I said this several times, possibly on an episode 1, maybe on another episode 1, or even one of my 139 episodes that are in the archive somewhere. Anything that's put by a product in front of you is pushed. That new brand of Oreo is pushed. It's on the front now. It's in the, you know what I mean? Like, Roman will be pushed if he's on the fucking camera. Like, so the notion that Roman is a Vince guy or pushed because that's what they want you to like, sure. But so is Ricochet. So is fucking Angel Garza. You know, they're on the fucking TV. They want you to see them. So the notion that Roman's a Vince guy and is going to flounder without Vince, I mean, he came out and he shit on Vince in the best way possible.
Yeah.
In storyline, but real life, the way Vince would want it. He tells Austin Theory that your daddy's not here, and the entire fucking crowd says, "Daddy's gone," or whatever the fuck they were. It was amazing.
Who's your daddy?
Who's your
Well, they
daddy?
said all of it,
amazing.
dude. It was
They said
2.5 minutes of them chanting different shit at Theory. Daddy's gone,
Yeah.
Daddy's gone. Who's your daddy?
It's
Fucking
amazing.
So good.
It's amazing. And Roman's ability, and he grew to it. He definitely grew to it. But his ability to feed the crowd, and the crowd fucking eat it up like little pigs, little sheep, little fucking marks. All 18,000 of them in fucking, where were they on Monday?
MSG.
Yeah, in the Garden. The smartest of smart crowds, right? And then even Friday, the entire worked arena when Brock came out, that fucking blew the roof off of TD Garden in Boston. Too bad the fucking pay-per-view is not in Chicago to get all those fucking marks who think they know more than everyone else to cheer for the ones they're supposed to and boo for the ones they're supposed to. Roman did a fucking amazing job putting the crowd right there. Hey guys, sit right here. I'm gonna show you how this is done. Get this work right now. He fucking killed it.
I said it a little bit before, but it is one of my favorite things, the amount of people who are trying to pretend that a lot of the guys who were pushed were only seen as a good talent by Vince. People are like, oh, Roman's done, Theory's done. You're like, yeah, because no one else in the company sees anything in them. Like, I just don't see that. I don't see them being in a spot where Triple H walks in and goes, oh, Vince has been pushing all the wrong people for years. I'm going to go ahead and only bring up the dudes I want. And you're like, or maybe there's something here. It's just,
yeah, that's the Gargano Cole argument, right? Oh well, fucking Adam Cole would come back and be a fucking star. No, Adam Cole was a quote star in Black and Gold. That's who he fucking had. That's who he had.
He had no
who else was he gonna use? Who else was he gonna use? This is after Aleister Black left that Adam Cole became a star. This is after Ciampa and Gargano were done fucking around. Like, there was no one left. So no, yeah, it's amazing. That's funny. Vince has been doing it wrong.
Yeah, I love the everyone's got their theory that Austin Theory's done for. It's like, oh, yep, this is it. He's done. No one wants him there. Okay, because he wasn't pushed in NXT. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he didn't come from NXT Chosen One either. So
I was wondering, does he get his first name back?
That's my favorite theory. The amount of people
Austin
who are
theory
saying,
is your favorite?
Yeah. Of all theories, my favorite version was Austin because of beer. But the idea that people have of like, okay, a bunch of people are getting their first names back. That one actually is my favorite concept that people have, because I do think that the single names can be good and can also at the same time not make a ton of sense. Yeah. And but you're talking about Triple H. You're not talking about Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He not only got rid of his first name, he just removed himself down to an acronym. His first name is Triple. You know what I mean? Like,
look at his Twitter handle.
Yep.
Triple first name, last name H.
Yeah, last name H, first name Triple. If anybody understands branding, I feel like he's one of them. So we're gonna get rid of Theory, and now it's gonna be a Theory.
Austin T.
Yeah.
No, there are some names now. I mean, Shotzi needs Blackheart. I think Theory does need Austin. I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but those two in particular, I think, Ciampa doesn't need Tommaso. I think Ciampa's okay. We all call them Ciampa anyway.
Yeah.
I know
those
Riddle
two in particular.
Riddle
Yeah.
is a tough one.
Riddle's still a tough one.
The problem with Riddle and Theory is they're just other words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're already a word, so it makes it really difficult. Because even us just trying to talk about people's concept of what's to be, we're trying to talk about a theory, and are we talking about Austin Theory? You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
He even went on to explain that the theory was he added that as his name on the indie scene because he felt like he was unproven. He's a theory. He's trying to prove himself, which I thought is pretty fucking cool. But at what point, if your name is based off the idea that you're unproven, at what point are you proven and now you're just like a hypothesis? Like, I don't know what's next for you. You know what I mean? Like, if your name is that you're transitioning, what happens when you've made it, you know?
Yeah.
The conclusion.
Yeah, conclusion. Conclusion downtown.
You developed a hypothesis off the theory, and you work
Yeah.
yourself to the conclusion.
Yeah.
Which should be his finisher.
Yes. The Austin conclusion.
Yeah. And that's been Science Talk with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Yeah, we'll teach you whatever you gotta know, man.
Fucking
Ooh,
scientific
teaching.
argument, man. Damn.
I don't understand contracts, but I understand the periodic table from time to time. Periodically. I'm just trying to look real quick. Becky Lynch and Bianca, I liked that stuff because how could you not?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting. The first hour was, well, I should say the first match took like an hour because it started off with Drew and Theory and turned into Drew and Bobby against Theory and Sheamus. And it went on for a bunch of time, for a while, and Dolph Ziggler ended up ringside at some point without an entrance. So it was a little weird, but it went on for a really long time. I felt like matches here had more time to breathe. Did that seem true to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think they took a lot longer, and yeah, I mean, we could come up with any, theory, if you will, on why the the matches, but but yeah, I mean, I did notice that as well. Like, there's a lot more commercial breaks in the matches and stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't know the reasoning behind it.
I thought it was a very Vince thing to do, to have a one-on-one turn into an interference, to turn into a tag. It's something that Vince would do, but it starts off the show with a brawl before opening credit, or right after opening credits, there's a brawl, which is like a non-Vince thing to do.
Yeah.
So again, to everyone, trying to get out in front of what's actually going to happen instead of watching, picking apart the first hour that way, it was just really funny to me. It's like, oh, this is so Triple H to do something different, and then it go immediately into a one-on-one that didn't quite make sense into it was a triple threat, right? That didn't quite make sense. Two, ending in a bullshit kind of finish with everyone trying to walk away. Like, it was cool to see all the players for the entire night. I'm still like completely off of McIntyre, so he just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, Mac and Fart. It's Mac and Fart.
Yeah, Mac and Fart. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I saw that movie last night. It was on TV. Gru had asked for a dart gun, but they made a fart gun. So that's where it comes from. But no, I whatever. It took time to get there, but you saw the players.
Yes.
That was the key.
Yes, and then also later on you have AJ and Dolph against the Alpha Academy, which is another kind of very Vince thing to do, of just kind of throwing two dudes together that you're not really sure why they're together, but they're having a tag match against a tag team and winning. But it's like I said before, I think that what's interesting and fascinating is going to be the things that we find out Triple H truly bought in on and versus the things that he truly disagreed with. One of the things he seems to have bought in on is that having singles matches and then throw together tag matches is a good way to keep talent away from each other to stop yourself from having the finish that would be a decisive thing. So how many rematches are we going to get versus non-finishes? I don't know, but it was interesting to see that. A dynamic I'm really enjoying is Theory and the Usos. I love that every time Theory's talking shit and the Usos come out, Theory starts backing up. Like, Theory responds to the Usos like they're going to beat the shit out of him, and he doesn't like that. You know what I mean? He doesn't approach the Usos like he can take them and he's not afraid of them. He approaches the Usos like, shit, these are bad motherfuckers who could beat the shit out of me if I'm not careful. And I like that because I don't feel like we get that a lot with singles versus tags. And they the ones.
I agree.
I got my phone
100%.
finger up. For people listening, I'm holding up my phone finger. We the ones.
But I think it's also weird that they put them together and then at any time it's like, hey, they need to protect Roman. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, yeah. But I mean, does Roman need protection, or are you just going to protect him just because? Why would you bother him with that?
Well, he's the chief. He's
Yeah.
the tribal chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether or not the chief could handle himself or not may not be the issue. It's should he have to? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
If I can stop it already, like Sami Zayn, honorary Uce. He's just there to be a buffer in the way. He's just trying to help so that way Roman doesn't have to bother himself with these non-pressing issues. I'll handle this. You handle tribal chief shit. Don't you worry about this. Also, cheers to Just in Time coming through.
Cheers.
Well, let's wrap it up talking a little bit about a Summerslam preview. You guys okay with that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to kind of go through a list of some of the matches that we know are going to happen. It looks like an 8-match card, but might turn into a 7. Let's see, Logan Paul versus The Miz. This is where Gargano's going to make his big return, right? That's what we think?
Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
Triple deuce in the middle of the ring.
Yep. Got to get that Ohio Deuce. Vic Joseph probably on the call.
Yep.
Riddle versus Seth Rollins. This is also where Gargano makes his big return, right?
That's canceled.
Yeah, but that's how Gargano is also going to make his big return. He's going to come out and face Seth Rollins.
Oh, okay. Is that what they're saying? Is that the whole rumor mill stuff?
Dude, it's what the fucking IWC wants so
Oh,
bad.
jeez. So I missed that part of the beginning of the show.
They want it so bad, dude. It's so funny.
Jesus Christ.
Hold on. Justin Times in the chat. He does say, just picture Sammy doing the same thing to Theory like the Usos, and now I want a Zayn versus Theory match. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there. Well, that's what I was saying before. We'll get there. Actually, we're going to put that on pause. So go ahead. What were you going to say about Riddle versus Seth versus Gargano, Bishop?
Well, Riddle's out of action, right? So
Yeah.
if that's the case, then that's the case. I don't know. Then I guess if it's Gargano, then yay.
Yeah, we're going to have Gargano
There's
here.
my-
We're going to have him in the Logan Miz match.
Oh, right.
After that,
right.
we got Belair and Becky with Gargano on the commentary, I imagine, at that point.
Special guest referee. Are you kidding me?
Special guest
The
referee.
timekeeper.
Timekeeper, Gargano.
Oh, timekeeper. That's right, because they already have a special guest referee. That's right.
That's true. You don't want to double down on a gimmick. You don't want to muddle
Right.
it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Do you guys think Becky's walking away champion, or do you think Belair's going to retain?
I think Belair has to retain.
I honestly don't know, and I think that's a good thing.
I'm really torn on this one. I feel like Kevin, where it's all like, I feel like Bianca's got to walk away with the championship, but I also feel like there's no reason why Becky can't walk away with the championship.
And I think, and I don't want to diminish Kev's take because he's right. The idea of Bianca winning is so obvious, right? Like, it's the deserved direction of the story and the character and all that. Like, it's obvious, right? But let's not be so smart as wrestling fans and take it back to not knowing what the fuck's going on. There's more for Bianca to do after this by winning, right? Completely separate from Becky and go do the whole shit. If she loses, we have no fucking clue. So that's why it doesn't make sense. But the story getting to right here of Becky completely dying and building herself back up to earn the one-on-one, not even a triple threat, which was speculated just a week ago. There's a chance. And that's the thing. They actually put the doubt in. Because if it's Bianca versus Carmella, well, this is Bianca beating Carmella to move on and go face someone else next time. But they gave you just enough Becky to think, fuck, man, Becky could win. And I give props to the story, and I'll succumb to the story by saying I really don't know. Because story with Becky coming into the one-on-one of SummerSlam that she didn't deserve, she didn't earn, she worked her way into, so I guess earned, but she kind of weaseled around and worked into a one-on-one. Makes me think that she could fucking win. And if she wins, fuck, that Boo Becky pop is going to be fucking amazing.
Yeah. And I do also think that this is a moment that could be utilized for the big kind of changes that Triple H wants to make or should make or whatever you want to call it. This could be a moment where at the end of the match, let's say Belair wins. This could be a moment where Sasha comes back out and we now see a bridge being repaired already. Like, hey, we're already taking a step in repairing relationships with talent that we know are having issues, right? This could be a huge moment in that regard. I don't want to like overly fantasy book that concept, but I do think that wouldn't be a bad place to start if Triple H wants to say new era, new WWE, who dis. Maybe you bring back a Sasha who, as far I wouldn't say she's been super vocal because she hasn't really talked a lot, but I would say the rumor's been very vocal about her being unhappy with the direction, and that's why she stepped away. Rajiri on Twitter, former owner of Wrestling Inc., he's been reporting since like 92. The dude's got a hell of a reputation for being very thorough before saying things. Has been adamant that the contract has been severed with Sasha Banks. And although that there's been no official thing, he thinks that's because that they're trying so hard to repair that and repen something. Imagine if one of Triple H's first things is, let's fix this Sasha Banks problem right now. Let's get her back for SummerSlam. This could be something that shakes the whole wrestling world in the idea that things are different. Things are so different that people who may have had a severed contract due to being unhappy are back already. You know what I mean? If I'm Triple H, I'm trying to bring out Naomi and Sasha right here.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely see that. And it's definitely possible, just like, you know, going back to who do I think is going to win, I think it has to be Bianca because, you know, she's been up against Becky and Becky's been kind of the one to have her number. But at the same time, you know, Becky can easily walk away champion at any time.
Becky
yeah, Becky the ones. But I mean, you can have, a big statement like that, bringing Sasha and Naomi back.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. It's if that happened, it's exactly what you just said. It would be the ultimate olive branch to anyone who's ever stepped away for any reason to come right on back, to come right home. And honestly, it would, I don't want to say it too much, but it might be like a proverbial nail in the coffin for AEW to basically let talent know there's nothing we can't fix over here. So there's no need to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
You know, if they can repair that relationship, because again, I'm not there. I don't know. If I had to guess, most of it's true. Sasha wanted more out of the tag team. Whoever was there beforehand wasn't willing to bend. I think we've seen Triple H's work in the women's division enough, like I alluded to earlier. It was so desirable. Vince wanted to take it all, and he's like, fuck it, leave me Asuka so I can rebuild. That worked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's definitely... Good.
No, I was just going to say, you know, since that is the case, and if you bring back one, I think you definitely bring back both Naomi and Sasha. But I think, especially if, the rumors are true where Seth and Riddle can't go, be like, hey, we don't have this match. And maybe even kick off the show like this, the actual show, not the pre-show. But, hey, since we don't have this match, we put together this match. And then you bring out 2 women, it could be whoever. And then Sasha and Naomi's music hit, and they walk out with the tag titles.
That'd be crazy.
And then say,
So
hey,
crown them as champs.
Yeah, and just say, hey, we're here, we're back. This is for the championship, and then they can run with it after that.
Or make it a fatal 4-way. Just be like, hey, we're going to do the women's championship tag match right now. We're crowning new champions. Bring out 3 different women's tags. You can bring out Nikki and Doudrop. You could bring out Asuka and Alexa's been a team for a bit now. Who's the third one?
Shayna and Natty.
Shayna and Natty. You could bring out Carmella and Zelina if you want. Like, you still have teams there. And then you could be sitting there going, and then let it drag out. Who's the fuck this forced team? Why is this fucking music taking so long? Let it drag for a minute. And then boom, Sasha Banks' music's hit. They both come out with the titles and be like, oh shit, it's not crowning new champions, it's defending champions.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have them come out with them, and you could definitely do that. Grim Reaper in the chat does say, and he makes a fantastic point, that I feel like Grim Reaper's a few times been like, I'm no historian, but he fucking remembers shit. He goes, if Triple H can mend the bridge with Bruno Sammartino, he can do it with Sasha or anyone else, which is true. The Bruno Sammartino thing was a long history from, I think, actually 92, bringing up 92 again, to the time of the Hall of Fame. He was constantly in battles with WWE, constantly in lawsuits, things like that. And it was Triple H who reached out to Bruno saying, we need you in this Hall of Fame. What's this Hall of Fame without you? And for him to be able to
Man
come back. Macho Man?
When the very first Broken Skull sessions with Vince and Austin asked him straight up, why isn't Macho Man in the Hall of Fame? And Vince basically said Triple H handles the Hall of Fame. The next year, Macho Man got in. If Triple H is mending all those fences, again, like I said, if Sasha can come back without stepping foot in any other ring anywhere, no MLWs, no independents, no nothing, and comes back, mends that fence, and if I had to guess, is able to tell an outside story, because that's a lot of things that's happened before with Vince, right? Everybody keep your fucking mouth shut. Controlled interviews. If she's able to tell a real story on everything that happened, I mean, fuck. There's a chance. There's a chance that nobody wants to leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sasha coming out at this point would be great, and the biggest reason Bianca should win. But now if Bianca wins, I'll be waiting for Sasha's music, and then they'll go into the promo of the next match, and be like, oh, okay, I guess that didn't happen.
Yep. Could be. I feel like we're fantasy booking SummerSlam really well so far. I'm going to keep it going. Pat McAfee, Happy Corbin. Who walks out happiest at the end of this one?
Johnny Gargano.
Gargano. That's what I was going to say, dude. This is Gargano's big return. He shows up. Pencil in hand. Stabs both of them in the eyes. Gets the championship. Walks out.
See, what happens is Pat McAfee joins the ring from commentary, and Gargano is guest commentator for this match, and then interferes in the end to set up his feud with Baron Corbin going forward.
Yes. Yeah. And right towards the end there, he slaps Michael Cole in the face. Says, don't ever talk that way to me again.
Mm-hmm.
But not because Michael Cole said something. But just because why wouldn't he slap Michael Cole in the face and say don't ever, because he's Triple H's guy. You know what I mean? That's why he would say don't ever talk to me that way again. Not because he said a thing, but because he's Triple H's guy. You don't talk about me that way. Michael Cole's like, I've been nothing but cordial. He slaps him again. What did I just say to you?
Daddy's not here anymore.
Yeah. Daddy can't help you anymore, Michael Cole. He's like, you're not careful. I'll make sure Heidenreich comes back. You know what I mean? Although, how amazing has these segments been between McAfee and Corbin? Every one of them, absolute home run.
Yeah, the only part I don't like is McAfee running up the ramp because he does it in a real person way, not in a wrestler way. I don't know. It just doesn't look. I don't know. It looks weird to me.
You just said your favorite part is watching McAfee run.
No, it's my least favorite part.
Least.
Oh,
Everything else is fine. No, when he's playing athlete instead of being athlete, it always looks like he's playing athlete. So like when he's chasing after, I gotta go chase after him. It's like, all right, man, we get it. Like, you know, it's like I give him a pass because he's McAfee. He's a 3-time Hall of Famer to be. So
yeah.
Well, he's a puncher.
Can you do it though? Can you do it?
No, I can't do it. And I'm afraid to. I'm gonna have to get new pencils because this one already chipped a little bit. And I don't want to keep chipping my only McAfee pencils. I want to get new pencils and then practice, so then I could do it with his pencil and feel okay about it. It's interesting you say that too, because I felt like the time that Pat McAfee kicked Adam Cole in the fucking face, which by the way is probably the most played video on my history of all time. That's how I wake up. I wake up, my alarm goes off.
When his face was over the commentary desk?
That's the one.
Yeah.
The way he ran up and Field Goal kicked him right in the fucking head, and he just goes limp and falls down. And then the way Triple H pushed him back, and he did that kind of high knees run backwards like you would see in like a practice thing. I remember just thinking like, holy shit, like how actual athlete did that look? Like to me, I was like, that's a fucking football player who just kicked a dude in the mouth. You know what I mean? Where it's funny that you're like, well, now he's running like a regular guy, not like a wrestler. Well, he's not running like a football guy either, I guess, right? Footballer, as we call them here.
Footballer.
Yes. Anything else on Corbin or McAfee? McAfee's got to win, right?
I would think so.
Actually, I want to see Corbin win only for McAfee selling the end of days. Because I have that much trust in McAfee as a performer that if he gets put in the end of days or the deep six, it would just look awesome with McAfee selling it. So
that's a good point.
Well, and make Corbin that much more of a heel too if he beats.
Oh yeah.
The crowd favorite McAfee.
That's true. And he could always tell him to shut up, I'll beat you again. People go, oh.
Right.
Oh.
And it's not McAfee, as much as I love him, he's not Samoa Joe. So he shouldn't be the commentator kicking everyone's ass.
That's a good point.
Well, WWE doesn't have said commentator. He's the one.
Side quest. When I was thinking about people who could very well easily come back after their contract is up, Samoa Joe came up right away in my mind. I feel like Joe is just waiting to get on the phone with Triple H. Please. This guy hugs me all the time. It's weird. He's always smelling my ear. I don't know. I think his lips touched me one time on my neck. So I feel like Samoa Joe
Mr. H.
Yeah. Mr. Triple, sir. But I do honestly feel like Samoa Joe could easily come back. I feel like Cross could easily come back.
I would love for Joe to come back.
Yeah. I feel like there's a few of them who are just kind of like, fuck.
Keith Lee for sure.
Yeah, I could see that one easily. Yeah.
There wouldn't be such stop and go with presentation. It would be allowed to breathe.
I could see Swerve.
Rusev needs to come back.
I don't know about Rusev, but I hear you. I don't disagree.
But... Miro.
Yeah.
We need Team Kick too. We need Dakota Kai and Tegan Knox.
Dakota and Tegan, I could easily see come back.
Yeah. They were Triple H players for sure.
Could you imagine they do a fatal four-way for the women's tag championships? You get Natty Shayna, you get Nikki Doudrop, then boom, here comes Tegan Dakota, and everyone goes, "Oh my God, this is the moment, this is it," and then boom, number 4, Naomi Sasha, and they go, "Oh my God."
Right.
Yeah.
That would do it, dude.
And number 5, the Hardys.
The Hardys.
Yep. Only if New Day are there to dance with.
Yes. New Day come out dancing with them the whole way down, and then they realize it's a women's match. R-Truth stops them. They all go back. WWE Tag Team Championship, Street Profits versus the Usos. Usos got to win, right? They the ones?
Yeah.
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 I'm not going to lie, but I might be rooting for the Street Profits on this one.
right, I'm just gonna cut your feed. No big deal. I'm
Let
just gonna
me-
cut you out.
Let me ask you both this. They've done the subtle breakup things, right? Not dissension, but the miscommunications and the not on the same page. And would this be a obvious? This is where Triple H sees the Street Profits to where Vince saw the Street Profits. Like, if the Street Profits win, and then over the next 2 weeks show strength after strength, are we looking at something that might not have been in the cards before?
Potentially, but I honestly feel, as much as you can tell, that everybody in the WWE loves Dawkins because they think he's a nice guy. And I get it. You can hear it in Corey Graves' voice. You can hear it in everybody online when they try to say, don't count Dawkins out. When you can see the way they book the matches, making Dawkins look strong on purpose, Montez taking a lot of the heat, as it were, you can tell that even the people in the ring want Dawkins to look good. At the end of the day, all I see is Dawkins being dead weight to Montez Ford. And I think that Montez Ford deserves better than being in a tag team with Dawkins, regardless of how much everyone loves Dawkins. I think that until Montez breaks away from Dawkins, his career will never reach the heights that it could. And I know that he's speculated that a draft might be a good way to split him up, and it might be, because I could see him not wanting to turn on Dawkins as to not make Dawkins look bad intentionally. I do feel like the Street Profits experiment is over, personally. They haven't held a championship in almost 2 years. Dawkins is not looking much. Well, there's that. But they the ones, dude.
Yeah, but that shit's run its course. Just like Roman.
Sure, but do you think the Street Profits need a run now?
Maybe. I think, especially if you're going to break them up, you give them a little run at the end, and that's
I
it.
think you break them up because they can't get it done.
Maybe.
And
I think that's easy.
And I don't even think you need to turn on each other. I just think you have Montez get frustrated and be like, if we can't take down the Usos, I'm going to take down Roman, and give him like a fucking one-on-one shot with Roman. And start that way. Start showing what he can do on his own.
Yeah, that's one of the things I did notice that I kind of didn't like, because Roman's been this huge dominating force, basically killed everyone in the locker room. And he struggled with Ford in their tag match, in that triple or six-man tag.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that Roman kind of looked weak against Montez. Like, what the fuck?
Well, he showed a vulnerability, and I think that could be a lot for Montez.
I also think it'd be cool if Dawkins turns on Montez, especially how they've been fluffing up Dawkins so much these past few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's like, hey, I'm better than you. I'm getting better than you.
Yeah. And this could be the moment that they bring out a surprise triple threat, make it DIY. Here's the big return of Gargano.
Yeah, that's true.
Again.
Yeah. That's right, because it was going to be DIY, and then they did the Hardys for the women's match.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't get Gargano during the women's match, which we should have.
Yes.
Because it was going to be... Yeah, you're right. So yeah, triple threat match with
about
Gargano.
Potentially Candice and Gargano with a wig could have worked, but we went Hardys.
Gargano.
So this is where Gargano.
Candice and Gargano.
Yeah.
Joni Gargano.
Yes.
Yeah, her sister-in-law.
Yes. The U.S. Championship, Bobby Lashley versus Theory. This is where Gargano takes it away, right?
Yep. He catches it.
Gargano wins the count out. Yeah. So he doesn't get the title, but Gargano wins the count out.
Yeah. And I could see Theory walking away, saying, I'm not doing this. I'm tired of this shit. I got to be ready for tonight, for when Brock Lesnar and Roman smash each other, stack each other, thumb each other, gum each other. I got to be ready to go,
Mm-hmm.
And so then Gargano comes out, and here we go. Lashley's got to win, dude. Doesn't make sense otherwise.
Yeah. See, like I said, I think either last week or maybe in just personal conversation, I think what you have here is you have Lashley win, and Theory gets kayfabe hurt. And that's why
I would actually like it to be a fucking winner take all. So Lashley can win the U.S. title and the fucking Money in the Bank. Because I don't think Theory as the Money in the Bank makes any sense. I mean, everyone's speculating. I think you guys even said something on episode 1 about Theory being a credible challenger with the Money in the Bank. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, I think that's why they were bringing in Dolph. Dolph is going to challenge him for the Money in the Bank. And since they've brought up so many times, like, oh, this would be the perfect time to cash in, this would be the perfect time to cash in. If Theory gets hurt, and then can't cash in, I think that would be interesting. And even after the match, you have Theory's music play, and you have Dolph holding the Money in the Bank and just walks halfway through down and then kind of laughs and walks away.
What if Dolph goes to super kick Theory, but then Gargano super kicks Dolph, so Dolph doesn't get the chance to super kick Theory, and then Theory wins the U.S. title?
I mean, it's plausible.
Yeah, it's possible. Now, I will say that Theory, I didn't notice it until that Raw with Cena. He's bigger than Cena. Like, physically larger. And for whatever reason, he always looks smaller in ring, no matter who he's standing next to. But he was physically bigger than Cena. So if we can buy Cena as a physical threat, there's no reason we shouldn't be able to buy Theory. But for some reason, he looks smaller than Cena in the ring, but side by side, nose to nose, Theory's a larger dude. It's crazy.
It's because Cena is larger than life.
Oh! He hit us with the larger than life.
I thought it was because you couldn't see Cena next to him.
The YouTube crowd on Twitch.
That's a good point. SmackDown Women's Championship, Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey. I feel like we already dug that one down.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final match, Gargano, for sure. It's walking away with SmackDown Women's Championship. And then the final one being Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Oh, do you think in the tag match that the referee, Jeff Jarrett, will be playing a massive part in the finish? Because I think that you get...
Yes.
Well, I think that potentially he doesn't play a role in the finish of that one. He has a guitar with stripes, and he plays the finish in this one. I think that they knock out the ref, and Jeff Jarrett comes out with his ref shirt and finishes out the night, screwing over Brock or the Usos.
Do you think he uses the guitar on Brock? Like, he comes out there to be the ref, and then he turns, and then...
I think he uses the guitar on Sami Zayn. I think Honorary Uce Sami Zayn comes out to help. Jarrett hits Sami Zayn with a guitar, slides in there, and counts to 3. And then you have a Sami Zayn Jeff Jarrett program coming out of SummerSlam. We get 1 or 2 matches.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree.
And Gargano wins.
Yes.
I don't disagree with that. No, I think Jeff Jarrett comes out for the save, but then Gargano comes out with a referee shirt on, and he gives one of them the Garganonator, whatever his finishing move was, and then it's only while Brock's handcuffed and still wins. Because that's what happens. Gargano will give you your finisher while handcuffed and still lose. So, no, I don't. I think I heard you talk about that on episode 1, I think. And what I was hoping for is that the referee shirt would be the fret lines, black and white alternating. But he wore a different ref shirt on Monday. So, and you're the ref guy anyway, so you should know how this is going to play out. Honestly, I don't think anything happens at the end of the night. I think it is just somehow, some way, one of them is down for 10 seconds. But I don't think it has to do with external fuckery. Unless, like the internet wants to say, it's a carrying cross situation. Because there's no other top star besides Bray or Braun that can come in and feasibly put any claim on either one of these guys. They're both I won't. I'll say if we're ranking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're above one. Both these guys, they're above one. It doesn't matter who the fucking challenger is. It's 95% these guys win, 5% anyone else has a chance. There's no one on the roster that has a chance to do anything, and Roman has the Usos. So, and the Usos have already been laid to waste by Brock. So there's nothing that can happen in this match from any outside force inside of WWE to stop this from happening. Just how do they get each other down for 10 seconds? I don't know.
I could see Theory coming out to cash, Jeff Jarrett stopping him from cashing in and being the one to do the final 10 count. And then I could see The Rock showing up to kind of tease that we're moving in a massive direction. Yeah. But even then, it's like we've been saying that for like 2 years now, that The Rock pop up at the end of any given Roman match, and I still think it's plausible. But outside of that, yeah, I don't know who you'd have come in to bring down Roman.
Like, how does Roman get Brock down for 10 seconds? How does that happen?
Probably set him on fire, like Bray.
Put him through the announce table. Anytime there's a big match and Brock goes to the announce table, he goes away for like 5 minutes and then comes back.
You can do that, or Gargano can give him one super kick and he's out forever. Gargano's the dude.
It is Gargano. Yeah, it's Gargano.
It's Gargano Slam.
Hey, you know my favorite part, not to get away from SummerSlam, because you kind of did that before I brought it back. My favorite part about all this Triple H fantasy booking, there's only one name that hasn't come up, and it makes me so happy. It's Charlotte. There's no Charlotte talk. No, nobody thinks they're ever going to see her. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to see her. Nobody's booking her to come back in any of these matches. It's fucking amazing. It makes me so happy.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It makes me want to podcast again.
I'm just going to put out that GIF of Triple H saying, "Charlotte, get out of here. This has nothing to do with you." You know, when Triple H said that with Becky? Yeah.
Be amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anything else? Anything else that we're missing you guys wanted to touch on, grab on, Gargano on, tug on?
The only thing I don't want to tug on anything, but the only thing I will say is, you know, best of luck to Ric Flair this weekend. Hopefully he's safe, and hopefully we don't open up next show with the tears on our beers for him.
Yes, Jesus.
Just saying.
Best of luck for all those involved, and give your little cross up to the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jeff Jarrett's gonna have a busy weekend. Anything else you Bishop sound like you wanted to mention?
Did you guys talk about WrestleMania Philly?
I mean, we mentioned it's gonna be there.
I'm fucking excited, man.
Yeah, it's like 3 years away, so you know.
It's not next WrestleMania, the one after that.
Yeah, it's a year and a half away.
Well, I think because this next one's we did Dallas, then we got Hollywood, and then it's Philly, right?
Right,
Yeah.
but Dallas already happened. So it's Hollywood then Philly. I'm not a Philly guy at all. It's just closest to me, and being able to do a WrestleMania travel pack while driving is amazing. Especially with the price of flights and how that's going to happen. I was seriously considering going to Hollywood, based on the whole Roman Brock speculation. But being in Philly, it's a no fucking brainer. 2 nights, and you get your hotels and all that shit covered up basically for the price of a ticket. I'm so fucking excited for it.
Yeah, anything
Philly's
you
been
get out of
asking for it for a
Delaware,
while. They don't really deserve it just because they ECW chant everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I know when the main card hits, the last couple WrestleManias have been so fucking good, especially the 2-nighters. I mean, even inside the fucking Performance Center, they give us something to really latch onto. But Tampa was awesome. Dallas was awesome. Hollywood's going to be fucking awesome. So I'm really
was trash.
What's that?
New Orleans was trash. 34.
It wasn't a 2-nighter though.
Oh, that's a good point. And 2-nighters been good, yeah.
But that was one thing I was going to bring up about the Triple H thing. That New Orleans one, if Triple H was head of creative, 0 chance Asuka goes out like that.
Oh, for sure.
She's not going out like that to Charlotte. No fucking way Triple H said it creative. Which, if she was going to lose, sure. But to a tap-out definitive and not be able to get up from that, regardless of how many times she wins the title over the next 4 years, fuck that.
Yeah. No way. So
hopefully a Triple H in the back gives Asuka a new fucking oomph to her system, because that'd be awesome. Some fucking respect on Asuka's in-ring work.
Yeah, I agree entirely. It's going to be exciting to see Gargano slam this weekend, to see how Gargano changes the industry on whole and indefinitely forever because of Triple H. Triple H really just being a catalyst for Gargano and whatever he wants to do is very exciting for the world of pro wrestling in general. He is Johnny Wrestling. Wrestling is his middle and last name. He's Johnny Wrestling. People didn't know that, but it's true. Anything else you guys thought we missed before we do a little last call?
Nope.
The only thing I miss is Gargano. It's going to be a good weekend. I will say that our week coming up, there's a very slim chance we do a show on Wednesday. I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling, personal family stuff again. But there's a good chance we'd end up doing a double header on Thursday, where we do our Summerslam, our Gargano Slam, realistically, recap and review, followed after a short intermission by the AEW NXT review. So keep posted by following us at WOTR The Show, going to WrestlingOnTheRocks.com, doing whatever you can to keep track of us. Bishop, anything you want to put over before you go?
Just at CW Takes Podcast on Twitter. I'll be coming back at some point sooner rather than later. For the longest time, it's been later rather than sooner. But with the Vince change and WrestleMania Philly, there's a chance that I feel like talking about this shit again. I recently just started watching more attentively. I've been giving myself more time. And I've been excited by all the terrible wrestling takes that come along with people thinking they know what's going to happen when it comes to Vince no longer being here. So maybe it's just a little boost that I needed as opposed to the talent that's actually on TV. So just check me out at CW Takes Podcast. If you still got my feed in your queue, I appreciate that. Give it about a month. We'll see what's happening. The 2-year anniversary is coming up August 21st. No, I probably won't be doing anything for it. I just know the date. So, but Marsh, thanks for having me on. Kenneth, thanks for letting me steamroll half your time here. Yeah. It's been a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. And the door is always open. You always got a stool here. If you didn't want to go through the trouble of production, you're always welcome to come through and ruin our show with your terrible takes. You can also follow him for terrible baseball takes as well, from what I gather. So outside of that, we got Kevlar on the Rocks with an X, where he is very, very vocal on Twitter, very active. You can slide into his DMs with all the butt pictures you'd like. He's very responsive.
Get me off Twitter.
Yeah. Outside of that, guys, we're going to be back tomorrow night to talk AEW, NXT, and we are going to be talking about Ring of Honor on a brand new episode 1 right here in the dive bar of the IWC. Guys, that's the last call.
Cheers.
Hey, producer lady here. Thanks for tuning in. Continue to support us or buy us a drink by following and putting the I in subscribe on Twitch. Or subscribe and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. Cheers.
I would never have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.